Now that's interesting. Hello and welcome to Everyday Petrolhead. I'm your host Terence Anderson, and we're going to talk about BMWs and coding. Now, the specific tool that I want to talk about in this scenario is the first software I ever bought for coding. It's called BMW Scanner 1.4. Some people call it PASoft. I think there's another name for it, but essentially it's a Windows XP based software. So what you're going to need to do this is you're going to need a laptop, or even if you have a desktop, that's your preference, that is at least Windows XP, preferably 32-bit. It will run 64-bit, but I've had problems with it in 64-bit, so I have a dedicated old laptop running Windows 32-bit that's completely off the net just for this purpose. The software costed me about, I want to say, $40. I think when it was new, it was a lot more expensive, but I got it for $40. And you can find it pretty much anywhere, but I'll link in the description one of the outlets that you can purchase it for. I've seen it as low as $25 and as high as $100. Either way, I think it's well worth it because of all the different things it can do. What this software does is allow you to look into the modules of most E-Series cars. That's, all of the older BMWs, 3 Series, 5 Series, 7 Series, X5 Series, anywhere from like 2001 to, I want to say up to like 2010, depending on your vehicle. So I can code E70s. My X5 is E53, which is great. And I think one of the bigger benefits for the reasoning for why I bought this car specifically is because it didn't have as many modules, computer modules, as the E70, which is the model after my X5. The E53 was the first X5. I have the facelifted generation, which is the second version of it technically. And it wasn't as complicated as the E70, which is a little bit nicer looking version of mine, I would say. Sort of nicer looking. I like mine a lot. So I'll show you a quick demonstration of like how it works real quick. How you connect it to your car. What you're going to need to connect it to your car is an OBD2 to USB cable. There's a couple of different manufacturers that make it. I know this software comes with the cable for the $40, which is awesome because it's already designed to work just with this software. So there's really not too much you have to do. You just install the software, you plug in the USB cable, install any drivers that may be needed, but usually they're already installed with the software, and plug it into your car, turn on the ignition, and you're good to go. Check out all the things that it can actually look for on your car. So you can slow down this video whenever you want to see details, but what the software does is it scans your entire system and all of the modules. There's about 3 pages of modules, and tells you what errors you may be having at the moment with your car. And as you can see, it's pretty robust for the price. You really can't beat it, and you get so much functionality. So in the middle of coding my car, I was working, or say light coding my car, because it wasn't like anything massive. For anything more in depth, you need something like IMPA or Insta-D, Rheingold. Program Man is one of those. I can't even pronounce the other one. I think it's like EDIS or something like that. One of these guys will correct me in the comments. There's other software that does really deep dives into your car, but this is pretty good for basic stuff. And it's even great for resetting the oil on your car because it's a bit of a process to do it through the dash. With this thing, I can just do it like that, which is pretty awesome. And let's get into it. To do any editing on the lights, you have to open the LCM module. Once it's open, you have options on the side of reading the memory, checking errors. I always scan to see what errors are available. You can rewrite the memory, and you can also clear errors if there are any errors. So I always clear errors first just to make sure everything is okay, and then I'll read again just to make sure there's no real error and it wasn't just some kind of power blip. So if we go into live data,
you can see all of the stuff that's currently running on my car. As it is, my car is not fully on, it's just the ignition switch is on. So some things are yellow on, other things are green and okay. So I go into coding and I hit the light coding button, and it brings up this screen. I'm going to pause it right here for you guys to take a look at it. You have in this screen checks going on the left side, cold checks, hot checks of your system. You can decide which ones you want to run. You have DC messages and the values for each of those things on the right. On the far right, you have the light options. And I initially tried to do all the daytime running settings for the EU, for the US, etc. None of that stuff worked correctly, not for what I wanted. So in the end, I ended up choosing these settings. Some of them are duplicates, some of them are conflicting. For example, like the Xeon options of the Xeon lights versus the other option there by Xeon. But almost by accident, because of the choices I made, I actually got the headlights to do this scenario where the lights blink with the turn signal, which is pretty awesome. So you guys can take a look at this. I encourage you all to fiddle around with the different settings. Maybe you'll get a different result.
So one of the things I noticed with this software is that I could program the daytime running lights on my car. What I wanted to do was get the halos to run as daytime running lights whenever the lights deemed necessary, because the sensor on the car determines whether you're running the lights, if it's bright enough outside still for the lights to not be on, or if you need the lights to be on. It's still an older system. Newer systems, the daytime running lights are running all the time, but with the model year that I had, the daytime running lights didn't turn on unless the light outside was dark enough, and then it would go into daytime running lights mode, and then once it gets dark enough, the headlights would turn on with the automatic lights. So for me, that worked really well, but I never got the halos to light up. It only came on when the headlights were on. So I set about trying to reprogram the system, and it seemed like it only wanted to either turn on my floodlights, which are the two lights in the middle. So, you know, with BMWs, you have the four lights, the two outside that are the headlights and the two inside that are supposed to be the high beams. But because I have the HID lights, the high beam and the low beam are in the same bulb. So the center lights don't really come on very often. I have to actually flip the stock on my car forward to turn on what I want to say are floodlights, essentially, not even fog lights. They're like regular incandescent bulbs that flood the lighting forward with yellow light. And I'm not really a big fan of them. I think eventually I'll change them out. But dealing with the halos, I couldn't get them to stay on in daytime running light mode. So what ended up happening was, in the midst of doing all this programming, I accidentally set the settings in the scanner software to tell it to do it. So I was actually pleasantly surprised to find them on, but not only that, I also programmed them indirectly to blink when I turn the turn signal on, which is pretty awesome when it's in daytime running light mode. So as you can see here, the lights are just blinking with the hazards or blinking with the turn signal, and it's pretty awesome. But once the headlights are on, it doesn't blink anymore. That feature goes away, and to some degree this kind of works because it helps drivers to not only see the yellow turn signal light, but also to see the white LED lights that I installed on my halos blinking brightly in the distance, showing that I need to turn on days when it's not as well lit outside. If I could get them to stay on just in general, I would, but I'm sure I'd probably just burn out the bulbs and have to replace them. So overall, this is pretty much a win-win for me. The software is pretty cool because not only did it help with, you know, just getting a better understanding of how my car functions, but it also let me diagnose things I couldn't figure out. When I purchased this vehicle, the previous owners didn't really do a great job of taking care of it. I've done, I think, a much better job of taking care of it. And the software helped me get an idea of which direction I needed to go in to resolve problems, instead of me fishing around like, oh, it's this, no, it's not that, oh, it's this, no. It actually will tell you what the actual factory code is for the problem, not just the generic code that you would find when you plug up a normal OBD2 reader. So I can actually get more in depth and say, oh, you know what? It's not the fuel injector, it's this thing. Oh, it's the, you know, coil packs that are acting up, or it's a spark plug that's not working right, or my fuel pump is not running regularly. Like, it's a lot more in depth, which is really good, because usually, you know, you get evap purge valve problem with cars of this age. I have that right now, so I have to get that dealt with. And it doesn't cause a problem for the car's day-to-day functioning, but it may not necessarily pass smog when I go to take a test. Not because it's burning anything or causing any problems, because it's not, but just because they're not going to pass it if that's there. So you look into a normal reader and it'll say, you know, purge valve system is having a problem, but this will say it's the purge valve that's the problem, or the canister is having a problem, or the evaporative system coming from the fuel tank is the problem. And that is really helpful information, because you're not sitting here going to a mechanic who's going to say, oh, we have to rip it all out and replace everything. It's going to be a couple $1,000s. No, you can actually say, oh, it's this part and it's $100, and I can go buy that part, and it's going to take me a little bit of time, but I can put it on myself. So for me, it's a win. It's helpful. And it's my first foray into this idea of coating a BMW. All the BMW guys, they do heavy coating in their cars. And honestly, I really liked it, you know, and it inspired me to pick up a copy of IMPA, or IMPA as some people call it, which is really great because that tells you even more stuff, like how the Valvetronic system on your car is running, which bank of the engine, bank 1 or 2, the first 4 cylinders or the second 4, is running lean or intolerances, how the air system for your air suspension is working. Since I have 4 airbags, it'll tell me which airbag is not working right. So I'm not sitting here thinking there's a problem with the whole system, it's just that bag, although you would change the 2 at the same time if you needed to. It also can tell me if the pump is going bad, or if it's one of the height adjusting sensors that are going bad, or if the height sensors for my headlights, because I have adjustable headlights, they go raise and lower based on condition. It'll tell me which one is having problems, and I can go deal with those problems. So I like this idea of getting into coating your stuff yourself. And if you went to the mechanic or the dealer, they would charge you an arm and a leg to do the exact same thing. And a lot of these softwares for these older BMWs are readily available, mainly because nobody wants to do it anymore. The mechanic doesn't want to do it. You know, for them, it's like, you know, they can make money off of it, but it's more money. They make more money off the newer vehicles. The newer vehicles have way more computer modules, way more moving parts, and a lot more issues. Something to think about. If you liked what I've been talking about, like, share, and subscribe, and join me next time on Everyday Petrolhead. Thanks.